A Mathematician's Lament. Before I give some of my thoughts on this book, which is one of the books we're using in the Classical Mathematics series, which is a program where I'm teaching educators around different parts of Africa, but then around the world who are interested in learning how to teach math classically, we're going through this book as part of the requirement of the course, the Classical Mathematics course. We're actually going through 12 books. This is one of the 12 books called A Mathematician's Lament. Before we dive in, I want to just act out a scenario for a second. It reminds me of Screwtape Letters. C.S. Lewis wrote a book called Screwtape Letters. And part of what was happening in the book Screwtape Letters is if demons were trying to find a way to cause people to fall or to sin or to get in trouble, how would they go about it, right? Let me now turn it into math education for a second. If we wanted to make students hate math, what would we do? Right? Let's think about it in that context of a scenario. I'm just going to act it out as a skit, okay? I'm a physicist, not an actor, so have mercy, but let me act it out. So, we want to help children, we want to get children to hate math. Here's what we do. Number one, teach them disjointed facts about what this thing math is, and then test them against a set of standards. Don't tell them why they're learning what they're learning. That's number one. Number two, give them 3 months off in the summer. 3 months, just 3 months. Are they going to farm? Not really, just 3 months. Just give them 3 months. Okay. So what if they're learning math and then you give them 3 months and they fall back down? Yeah, we don't care. Okay. Number three, don't require calculus. Tell them they don't need it. They don't need calculus. Like, they don't need advanced math. Why? Well, because, calculus is a little hard and this and that. Okay, now, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to almost act out a skit. And I apologize, I'm not trying to pick on anyone, but here's my point. The current education system in some countries is set up almost as though the goal is to help children hate math. Like, that's literally how it's set up. How do we solve this problem? Let me start with the calculus one and reverse engineer and bring it back to the book. The reason why we have to require calculus is because a lot of the topics we teach have applications in calculus, and then we tell children they don't have to do calculus. So by human nature, right there, if I told you, you don't need to do this thing here, but there's all these steps here that are connected to this thing here, you almost get me to the point where I pull back, because I'm not going to use it, right? Because nobody is factoring polynomials on the street. If you meet someone who says, hey, let's go, can you factor polynomials? If you meet someone at an airport that tells you that, run away. Nobody should be factoring polynomials at an airport, right? My point is, we don't learn those topics sometimes just for their own sake. We learn them partly because they are part of a bigger story that is seen in calculus, in linear algebra, sometimes in statistics. We have to help children see they need calculus, statistics, linear algebra, data science, and more. And they can do it, because that leads to my number two objection. Why would we take 3 months off? 3 months off from a subject that is so objective and algorithmic, has algorithms. It doesn't make sense. This is like me crying and begging educators to say, we can't do that anymore to students, because they don't even know how bad this is for them. Some of them do, and some of them don't care. Which leads me to the first concern I mentioned. Why do they not care? We haven't told them the stories. We haven't told them why logarithms exist. I was working with some students today, and someone was working on logarithms and somebody else on the unit circle. And what I heard from these students, yikes. I teach a few students in the evenings just going over pre-calculus and algebra concepts. So many students, right? This leads us right into one of the core ideas here. So many students are literally just memorizing and regurgitating with no understanding of what's going on. This is literally the story of so many students. How do we solve this problem? Well, we need to rebuild mathematics for this age that we're living in. And in A Mathematician's Lament, he gives a critique of the modern math education system. Here's something that Kevin Devlin said that I think is very interesting. I apologize, Keith Devlin at Stanford University. He says, "It is quite frankly one of the best critiques of current K-12 mathematics education I have ever seen. Every school should give one of these to their math teachers." Like, you know what? I take it back. Before we teach the next math lesson today, we need to read this book. Before we do any other teaching, we really do need to read books like this. Why? Because if our goal is to help students love mathematics, we have to question some assumptions. And the crazy thing about the times that we live in is that the machines are doing better on benchmark tests than humans in the things that we're training the humans to do on these things. If we focus on computation alone without the context for which the concepts came about, we are going to find ourselves in a very bad place in math education. Imagine you're trying to train students to meet a certain benchmark, and companies are beginning to outsource to agentic systems and AI systems that are doing better than some of the best students in those benchmarks. Those students will literally potentially hate math, not do well at it, and then the companies don't even want to hire them because they have agents. But what if the students have a deep understanding of the why? Why did John Napier come up with the work in logarithms? Why did Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz do their work in calculus? The why is so important. We cannot sacrifice the why on the basis of meeting standards anymore, because the systems, the agents are getting so good that we are literally, if we keep going the way we're going, we're training human beings to be like LLMs in a world where LLMs will do better than them. We can't compete with computers where they compute well. We need to help our students learn the fluency in arithmetic and all that. I'm not saying we don't need times tables. Oh, we need all of those. But my point though is we need history, we need the philosophy of mathematics, and we need the summer off model done. Like it needs to be done. Again, I say this in love and I know Amos gets a little intense with this, but we can't do it anymore. We can't afford to do it. It's too expensive. Taking 3 months off from math is too expensive. But the reason why many kids will be so happy to take the 3 months off is partly because of how we teach math. But if we teach it in a way where they love math, some of them will cry when the summer comes. Why? Because I can't do math. They'll cry. Math is beautiful and needs to be redeemed. Paul Lockhart says that math is fundamentally broken. Math education, is fundamentally broken. We have procedures over ideas. We have memorization over understanding. How do we solve this? Well, he gives the analogy at the beginning of the book where he says a musician wakes up from a terrible nightmare. In his dream, he finds himself in a society where music education has become mandatory. We're helping our students become more competitive in an increasingly sound-filled world. Educators, school systems, and the state are put in charge of this vital project. Studies are commissioned, committees are formed, and decisions are made, all without the advice or participation of a single working musician or composer. Since musicians are known to set down their ideas in the form of sheet music, these curious black dots and lines must constitute the language of music. It is imperative that students become fluent in this language if they are to attain any degree of musical competence. Indeed, it would be ludicrous to expect a child to sing a song or play an instrument without having a thorough grounding in music notation and theory. Playing and listening to music, let alone composing an original piece, are considered very advanced topics and are generally put off until college and more often graduate school. This is part of how he starts his book. That's like a nightmare, but that's what math education has become, unfortunately. We need to redeem math education, but we have to move quickly. Time is of the essence. I'm going to continue doing a study of the Mathematicians' Lament. This was just part of my goal to try and say, I know that many educators don't want kids to hate math. I know that. But we have to do something quick to redeem mathematics. Math is like an art. Creativity, exploration, patterns that are seen all need to be discussed. Join me in this series. And thanks again for watching. Take care and have a blessed day.